Trying to have you right up in here, Eric.
I know. We good. You're crazy. We live, Isaac.
We are live. We are live. We are live. It is 7 o'clock. We wait for folks to come and join us on this very special Ask Eric. You guys, those of you tuning in right now, please do not click off right now. Please let us know what questions that you have. Today is Ask Eric on Master Your Money. So if you have any questions, we can bring you on right now. Please let us know. If you have an email address, please drop it in the chat or email Eric, and we can, or info@thefinancialturtle.com, and we can bring you on live right now. So we could do that. Or if you have anything, please drop it in the chat. If you have a very detailed question that you really want to ask, please let us know. This is Ask Eric today on this Tuesday. The time did change. It is 7 p.m. So we did change the time. So folks were like, they want to have an earlier time. They want to go to bed at a decent hour. so we'll be, everybody's waiting on the live for Eric, and we about to go to sleep. So that's good. Eric, can you hear me?
I can.
All right, cool.
So what would you like to talk about?
I'm trying to wait for some folks to join us. Let's say who's there in the chat. Anybody in the chat who's tuning in right now? Got some folks tuning in. Just want to make sure everybody gets in. Got some gets in. I know. Let's see. Good evening. All right. Well, one of the things, Eric, we just go ahead and get started. And those who join us, who have any questions, they can ask Eric. And I know we got a lot of content that we have to do, but we want to make sure that our audience, or everybody who's viewing, have opportunity to be able to ask those questions. That being said, I'm just going to go ahead and take it off for myself. See, that's how you do it. You take it for yourself, because I got questions, Eric. But how are you doing, sir? How are you doing today? How's your week been going?
Good. Yeah, it's been a pretty trying week. I got some personal stuff going on, but we're working through it, so we'll be good.
Okay. I feel you. So you're in good spirits. You ready to talk about some finances and get us on track for this afternoon?
Good.
This evening.
Anything you want to talk about?
Man, you know what? I do have a question. Right? I do have a question. So you just ask Eric today. So if it's end of the year, there's opportunity that some folks probably made some money, right? And in that, a lot might be going to taxes, right? So how can some folks, whether they're single, married, single, then married, just with one spouse, in case it changed, you don't know if you can marry multiple right now. I got to check that. It's changing every day. I don't know if I got multiple wives and multiple husbands or nothing like that. I don't know. But whether it's single person, and then a married couple, and then also married with children, right? So if they were making a certain amount of money, what would they need to do if they were putting money away in their 401k? Maybe they're doing 10% or something like that. They're doing the fully funding their Roth IRA. Maybe they got a HSA or FSA, or maybe they have a 529, a lot of different things. And so now it's like, well, if you didn't put enough in, maybe in your 401k to kind of reduce that, what would need to be, what would need, I guess, what would be the best option? I guess it's not cookie cutter, but what are some suggestions to kind of write off or not let it go to taxes right now as we get to this end of the year, like deductions, right? That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. So a lot of it depends on number one, if you have a business. I know there are a lot of people out here doing master classes and stuff like that, telling you that if you're a W-2 employee, you can bring your taxes down by creating a fake company. And yes, I said fake company. When I mean fake company, I mean you are not trying to create any type of revenue or anything like that. You are
Yeah.
just right. You're just creating a company just to be able to say, oh, I'm going to go buy this car. I'm going to write my cell phone off. I'm going to do business use my home. I'm going to do all types of things like that to try to bring my income down, to try to bring my adjusted gross income down, which then will bring my taxes down. You are looking for an audit by doing things like that. So the main thing to try to look for, like you said, um, if I'm not, it's kind of too late to do the things with your 401k, but definitely depending on how much money you make, because that can be a factor on if you can do a traditional or a backdoor IRA, the HSA stuff, things like that, that you can still put money into. You said Roth earlier. That is a great way to save for retirement. But today we're talking about saving money on taxes today, not in the future. So by putting money into a Roth today, it does not help you from a tax standpoint today. It is when you get to retirement age. So the main thing you can do if you are a W-2 employee is, like you said, do the, try to put as much money into your traditional IRA, your HSA, things like that, or definitely start looking at if you can afford, because again, I tell people all the time when they come in and we look at their W-2s and go over their numbers and they say, again, how do I save money on taxes? That's one of the first things we look at is the percentage of your income that you are putting into your 401k at work. So that is one of the first things I tell clients to do is to go and change their 401k at work if they can afford it. That's the main thing. You don't want to be putting money into your 401k at work and then having to borrow the money out of it in order to pay your bills. That doesn't really make any sense because you're paying interest on the loan that you're taking back out, even though the interest is going into your account. That still kind of doesn't make sense. You need to make sure that you can afford to put the amount of money that you are putting into your 401k without having to touch it. Now, the other type of person, depending on if you're an LLC, if you're an S corp, things like that, then of course, if I have a legitimate business, I could look at maybe things that my business actually needs to help the business grow. Certain type of equipment. Maybe I want to upgrade my vehicles. There's computers or something like that that my business needs that I can legitimately write off on the business to bring my taxes down. And it's interesting we're having this conversation because one of the articles that we are doing tomorrow is talking about SEP IRAs and solo 401ks. So that is definitely something that you could look into doing. If I'm an LLC where I'm doing a Schedule C and my business is pretty profitable, I would look into putting as much money as possible into a SEP IRA. And you can do that up to when you get ready to do your taxes. So it goes by a percentage of what the profit is on your business. So a lot of people again don't like doing SEP IRAs because again, in order for me to put money into a SEP IRA, my business has to be profitable. So I can only put in like 20 to 25% of whatever my profit is. So if my business is not profitable, I cannot put money into a SEP IRA. And then if I'm an 1120S or a S corp, so to speak, and I'm paying myself an actual salary, I can look into putting money into a solo 401k. And also I can do what's called an employer contribution to add on to the solo 401k through my S corp. And again, that is a write-off for the S corp. So again, as the business, it is bringing my taxable income down for the business on the K1 that comes over for the business. Now, a lot of people would rather go out and buy that G Wagon. They'd rather go out and buy that Tesla and things like that because, especially with the new changes um, on the depreciation and cost, all counts and things like that. So they think it makes more sense to them to go out and write all these things off as opposed to growing wealth, which is what everybody claims they're trying to do, right? It would make more sense if I had, say, like $50,000 sitting in an account. It would make more sense to me to try to put as much money as possible into accounts, retirement accounts, brokerage accounts, things like that that are helping me grow wealth, as opposed to buying something that I really and truly do not need for my business just because I'm saying I'm writing that off. So that is a hard sell when I meet with clients. Um, Even as something as simple as, like I said, the 401k, telling people that they need to adjust their income and put more money, have them take more money out of your check in order to put into your 401k to save you money on your taxes. And people always say, but I don't have the money to afford to do that. But then if I owe taxes at the end of the year, what do I have to do? I have to set up a payment plan, right? So now I have a payment plan that now has to go into my budget, as opposed to me saying, no, it makes more sense for me to take that money and put it into my 401k. And that's going to bring my taxes down. Again, it's not dollar for dollar. Let's be clear. It's not dollar for dollar. It's not like if I have um, a $7,000 tax bill, if I put $7,000 into my traditional IRA, that's not going to bring my taxes down $7,000. But again, it's better than having to pay the whole $7,000 in taxes if I could move some of that money into growing wealth, which again, you would believe is the most important thing of what you're trying to do. It's not just about being able to buy and write all these things off for your business, be it legitimate or fake, as opposed to putting as much money as possible into retirement plans, brokerage accounts, things like that. Again, I keep saying brokerage account. It's not helping you from a tax standpoint to put money into a brokerage account. But again, I would rather put money into a brokerage account as opposed to going out and buying things that bring me no value, that are not an asset to me.
Okay.
Even if I have to pay the taxes on it, that still makes no sense to me to go out and buy a bunch of stuff that isn't growing not only my business, but is not growing me personally either. But doing things like brokerage accounts, mutual funds, things like that is going to grow me wealth wise, right?
Yeah.
But we never think of it like that. All we see is people jumping up with these videos. Again, like we were just talking, good for you, you bought a G Wagon. Good for you. So now everybody runs to that and they think that's what success is. They think that's what makes sense to do if you have money, as opposed to saying, hey, do you have a solo 401k? Do you have a SEP IRA? Do you have a savings account? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have any of those things? Again, like I tell people, if you have a certain amount of money in a retirement plan, be it your 401k, be it your SEP IRA, do you know if that's growing interest? You're basically giving yourself money every year, right? If I have $100,000 sitting in my 401k and it's giving me a 10% return, I'm making $10,000 a year, right? I'm doing that math right, right?
Yeah.
Does that make more sense as opposed to somebody saying, I'm gonna take this $100,000 and go buy this car to be able to write the car off? And we're not even talking about the insurance, the upkeep, all kinds of stuff like that. You're just in your head saying, I've written this $100,000 car off. And the crazy part is, like I just said, depending on how much money you make, that brings your taxes down. Putting that money in your 401k, putting that money into your IRA and things like that, your SEP IRA and stuff like that. I just said that's a write off. So that brings your taxes down. It's the same thing as you going out and buying a car or going on that cruise or going on that vacation, going to Disneyland, doing things like that. It's still doing the same thing. You just don't get the instant gratification, I guess, of going to Disneyland or
Mhm.
having a huge birthday party or whatever nonsense that I see people send me videos on nonsense that people say you can write off. Again, the question isn't even about doing that. It's, are you building wealth to be able to retire do you have the mechanisms in case something was to happen where I don't have to keep on getting payday loans. I don't have to keep on going out here and getting lines of credit and things like that. If I'm building reserves, if I'm building money in accounts to be able to pay for inventory, to be able to pay for payroll, to be able to do things like that. But we are so fixated on, they told me that if I go on a cruise and I take my kids and we sit at the table and talk for 15 minutes, I can write it off.
I can't do that, Eric.
But you're using a firm and all this other
if I pay for it on my pay for it in cash, right? What if I pay for it on my personal and then I take it and be like, hey, this was a part of the business expense as I'm getting started? Could I do that?
You could, but then my main thing to you would be, but let's say something happens. Do you have reserves to be able to say, it makes sense for me to go on this cruise? It makes sense for me to go and do that. See, wow.
When you said it makes sense, it makes sense for a lot of people.
We always
it makes sense for a lot of people to go out and go on and take your family on a nice vacation, especially on a cruise.
If you can afford
Mr. Cruiser. So
afford it. Because again, it's always funny to me. And I know people who watch me and listen to me talk, it's always funny because people say, this is what wealthy people do, right? A wealthy person doesn't have to use a firm to go on a cruise, right? A wealthy person doesn't have to go get payday loans or all this and that to go on cruises and things like that, right? To go on vacation and stuff. That doesn't make any sense. You're having to pay all this interest and all this and that in order to do it. And then at the same time, you're struggling. Your business is struggling, right? Because you're having a problem making inventory, you're having a problem making payroll, but you are so fixated on somebody telling you that if you go buy this car or if you go on this vacation, stuff like that. Again, so I'm not telling you not to go buy that car. I'm not telling you to not go on that vacation. I'm going to ask you, it's almost like, I'll call it profit first accounting because that's what a lot of people ask me about. I'll do it in this way and I'll do it in the same way like a regular person on a budget, doing a budget. If I'm putting 15, 20% away for retirement, savings, emergency fund and stuff like that, and then you come in here and you say, Eric, I'm going to go on a cruise next month. And I say, oh, you're saving money, right? You have an emergency fund, you have a savings account. If something was to happen, you're good, right? Right? So then what's the problem? There's not a problem. There's not a problem. But again, I'll do the joke of, I've got this G-Wagon with the check engine light on it because I can't get it fixed. Does that make any sense? None.
No.
I'm driving this car, but I can't afford to get the brakes fixed. I can't afford to get an oil change. But I got this car that I can write off.
No.
There's no logic in that. And again, I know it might hurt some people's feelings who are listening because you're watching all these influencers who are showing you in their G-Wagon or showing you them getting on a jet or showing them on a cruise.
It could be just the neighbors, Eric. You know what I'm saying? Like you could say, well, it could be a neighbor or someone who lives in the neighborhood or something like that. You like looking like, a teacher just balling out, right? Like you don't know, like they living their best life, right?
Right.
And so you're like, okay, but you don't know their financial situation.
You don't know their situation. You don't understand what they're really going through. Like I said, they might be really and truly a paycheck away from losing everything. They might be hiding that car.
I think when you were mentioning something, I was thinking priorities because some people will be like, man, it still drives. The check engine light is just the check engine light. It's not gonna stop yet. I can still go on this cruise and go have a good 4 or 5 day cruise and come back, and the light's still gonna be in there, but I gotta live my life. And right? I can do that and say, I'm gonna put me first.
And eventually the car is gonna stop, right? There's
That's why we go. That's why we go to church and we pray.
Check engine lights off on me,
Hey,
right?
I pray even when there ain't no check engine light to get my car inspected. I'm like, I hope nothing come back. You know, no broken light I gotta get fixed. They always trying to get you on the what's it called? The windshield wipers.
All that
The
good
windshield. Oh, you need wood. I just got them last year, bruh. I need some more. It didn't even rain. Y'all know it didn't rain like that. So
I'll put it like this. I'll put it like this. What do you think is people's biggest frustration, stress that they deal with on a daily basis?
I don't know about. I think for me and me personally, and then kind of reflecting outwardly, I feel like the stress of like having enough money to maintain your lifestyle.
You just said it. You just said it. You just said it. So do you think it's almost like, and I didn't want to do this, it's almost like when I'm watching all this nonsense of all these people saying they can help you fix your credit in 14 days. To write all these letters and do all this nonsense. And again, we'll talk about this in another video because there's got to be millions and millions of people who do credit repair, right? Because we watch it on social media all day long, right? But the point of the matter is, a lot of times I know things happen and stuff like that, unfortunately. But if we're being honest, why do most people have bad credit?
Because
financial decisions. Financial decisions.
Yeah, financial is bad decisions.
Bad financial decisions. Somebody can say you don't know what you're talking about all day long, but again, as we've talked about before, if I buy a home that does not fit in my budget just because I believe I'm entitled to that home, you're setting yourself up. If I go and buy a car that does not fit inside of my budget, I'm setting myself up, right? If somebody gives me, if somebody does something, I'll put it in a business standpoint. If somebody somehow, fraud, whatever, gets me all this money for a business that is struggling, or in many cases don't even have a business, and then I go and run those credit cards up, who's at fault in that situation? Who's at fault in that situation? So then when you turn and say, I need somebody to help me fix my credit, which is usually the biggest thing, right? It's somebody's cars being repossessed or have a whole bunch of credit card debt. And we can sit here and say it was me having to pay for groceries or do this or that. No, a lot of times it is people making a decision to do things that they cannot afford. Again, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to judge anybody. Like you said, I go on vacations and stuff too. I'm not here to judge you. But the point is, if you are doing these things, don't sit back and say it's somebody else's fault that I'm in this situation. You see what I'm saying? I understand that's the car you want, but if your budget cannot afford that car, you can't get that car. If I can't afford to go on that vacation, you can't go on that vacation. You can, if somebody gave you the credit to do it. If you go to the dealership and they let you drive off in it, you're right. But then when you drive off in it and things happen, you can't then turn and say, I need somebody to fix this now. I need somebody to fix this now because I've got myself into a situation where, and what's worse, a lot of people, because of all of these people who say they do credit repair and things like that, you're not even trying to fix it. Meaning you're not even trying to fix what you're doing as far as my habits, the way I deal with money, the way I deal with bills and stuff like that. You're not even trying to fix that. You're just automatically saying, hey, this person said they can fix my credit. So they do whatever they do, if they even legitimately do it. And then once you do that, you just keep it moving. But what have you learned today?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the question you should ask yourself. What have you learned today?
Yeah.
It's great that somebody got you out of this situation and whatnot, but am I going to continue to keep doing what I'm doing? Does that make any sense?
It doesn't make any sense. That's a good point. You brought up a good point, Eric. Those of you who are joining us real quick, Please let us know if you have any questions to ask Eric. Please drop them in the chat. I'm asking a lot of questions. So I've asked a lot of questions that I know that some folks might want to know or have more information about. But please drop it in the chat. If you would like to come on live with us anytime today or the future, please let us know. And we can just go through that whole time and we can bring you on to the live. I know finance is a personal deal, but if you have any questions, please ask it. Go ahead.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. I'm not saying it. I hope I'm not hurting anyone's feelings or making people feel a certain type of way. Like, how dare you tell me I can't go get my credit fixed, or how dare you tell me I can't go on vacation and this, that. I'm not telling you what you can and cannot do. I'm not. But what I'm saying to you is you can't make a decision that if you really sat down and talked to somebody or talked amongst yourselves and really thought about it and said, this is something I can't afford to do, or this household can't afford to do, and things like that. And then you go ahead and you do it anyway. And then you get yourself in a certain type of situation. That's kind of on you. Correct? Again, I'm not even saying anything again, because again, the people who are out here saying they do credit repair and stuff like that, it's a hustle. Correct? Yeah. At the end of the day, they're trying to do a hustle. They're trying to start a business, so to speak, just like anybody else. And so they've discovered, so to speak, that they are hitting a situation that so many people are having a problem with, which is having good credit. And that's crazy, right? That's crazy that so many people have bad credit. And we can sit here and argue all day and talk about the economy and all this and that. There are plenty of people who subscribe to a different type of mindset when it comes to money, that they don't have these type of problems. Correct?
It's interesting when it comes to credit, because Roderick, I believe today is Ask Eric Any Question regarding finance. So any question that you have, we can bring you on live, or you can ask the question in the chat. So it's Ask Eric Anything today. So if you joining us right now, if you have any questions, any thoughts at all. I know Ron asked about how was the cruise. I know some folks want to understand how our cruises, sir.
I'm saying y'all need to get on my business.
How were cruises? We want to glean and live through you, because we know how much cruises cost. And apparently you calling us, we can't go on vacation.
I said no such thing.
We don't have the money, the means to do that. I might just get a holiday loan, because I see they're popping up now, and it's for seasonal expenses, and it's like $1,200, $1,500 for 12% APR. Like, that's where we at right now. And what's wrong with getting a little loan so my babies can have some presents under the tree, right?
It's funny how you said that, because I usually do not go on cruises in November like that. But it was such a huge deal. As crazy as it sounds, right? It was such a huge deal that kept coming into my email. And so I looked it up and I was able to do it. But again, I didn't go on a firm to get it. I didn't go get a line of credit. I didn't go do any of those types of things. And again, I'm not saying it in a bragging manner, right? But again, we can't have this conversation where everybody says, somebody else will come on and say, my wealthy clients, they don't go on vacations, they go on business trips. You've seen that all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what my wealthy clients do. So then that's when people call me and they say, hey, Eric, am I allowed to write this off? Am I allowed to do this and that? And I say, yeah, if it's business related, so to speak, in theory, you can do it. But then are you getting ready to put it on a credit card that you got to pay all this interest on? Or are you getting ready to take it out of an account that you've been putting money in? Are you messing with your emergency fund in order to do it? Is this going to hurt you financially in order for you to do this? That's not the question. The question is, can I write this off? That's the way it's approached. When you see these people say, wealthy people, they get their taxes down to zero. because they write everything off. They write everything off. That's the stuff we see, right? Those are the master classes. Those are the things that we see. They even say people who are W 2 people can write everything, can create a business and write everything off. So your common sense would tell you, in order for me to do that, if it's not real estate, I'm basically throwing money away in order to bring my AGI down, because that's what you're doing, right?
Mhm.
In order for me to not to pay taxes, I've got to bring my AGI down. So again, let's say I'm somebody who has a W 2 that makes $100,000 a year. In order for me to not pay any taxes at all, I got to bring that all the way down. So how do I do that? And these are legitimate expenses, right?
Mhm.
So I'm running around doing things in order to write it off. But then when I say, well, why don't you just put more money into your 401k? What is that going to do? That's going to bring your AGI down. What are you talking about? You didn't know putting money into your 401k is going to bring your AGI down? AGI down? You didn't know it brings your taxable income down? You didn't know
Not
putting money,
everybody knows that, Eric.
but again,
And not everybody wants to
yes
put
and no.
that much
But
in it.
hold up.
Like,
But you
know,
would rather go buy something that now I've got to pay insurance on. Now I've got to pay for the upkeep on it just so I can look a certain type of way. Even though, like you said, I'm struggling to pay for it.
mm,
And we're not even talking about if I get audited later on it, right?
yeah.
Because they're saying, hey, this isn't even a legitimate business. This isn't a legitimate write-off, which I've seen. Because again, like I said, I've actually sat at the IRS office with clients who, oh yeah, I did all this travel, and they say, hey, can you show us the receipts for all your travel? And then they say, no, that's not justified. That's not justified for you to be able to write that off on your business. Or I had to buy all this equipment, or I had to buy all of this stuff. And they're like, that's not legitimate stuff for your business. I've actually seen clients try to write off a whole bunch of mileage. And they said, no, for what type of business you do, you cannot write off that type of mileage. Again, I've been to the IRS office with people who've hired me to go help them when they get audited. And I've actually sat through those type of audits. It's usually things that people believe that they can write off, and then you get in there and they're like, no, you can't write that off. Not the way you believe that you can write those type of things off. And again, like I said, but you're never going to tell me that I can't put money into my 401k, right?
Right.
You're never going to tell me I can't put money into my traditional IRA. And again, what is the goal here? Is the goal to grow generational wealth as we're talking about? Or is the goal to flash? Because again, it's nice that you have that car, but are you growing any wealth?
I think that there comes a time, it depends on, again, that person's mind, where they are in life currently. Some people have always kind of lived check to check. So when they got a little bit of money, that kind of that lifestyle kind of creeps up and be like, hey, I'm gonna go do something for myself. I probably still haven't paid off my student loan. Right? There's wealthy people that still got a student loan and they have the money in the bank, but they just there's no, it's like
Because
4%,
that's a whole,
3%. So they're
yeah,
just like
okay, that's a whole different conversation about, because I got this money over here giving me a way better rate of return than me paying my house off,
right,
or me
right.
going and paying cash for this car because I'm getting a 2.9% rate on this car, but I got this money growing over here doing 8, 10%, whatever. Okay, cool. Yeah, I totally agree on those conversations. But usually the problem with that is, what if I take that money and I'm investing in something and that investment falls through? I still have this house note. I still have this car note. Again, I I hate to keep saying the word, because to me the word is corny, but to keep on saying this is what wealthy people do. This is what wealthy people do, right? Anytime you watch these master classes, whenever you watch these people trying to get people to take their course or link to their thing, whatever, what do they always say? This is what wealthy people do. This is what wealthy people do, right? Wealthy people
Well,
borrow their money. You know,
yeah.
wealthy people don't operate like that. Again, but if you are somebody who is struggling to pay your bills, if you have a business and your business is struggling, You need to get that out of your head. I know I'm hurting somebody's feelings by saying that. You need to get that mindset out of your head. If I have a business and I don't have um, reserves, if I'm struggling to make payroll every month, if I have a business and I'm having a problem making inventory, if I have a business and I'm struggling to pay myself and be able to pay my bills, the last thing I should be thinking about is what can I write off tax wise? And again, just from somebody saying, but then I'm paying less taxes, but it's not dollar for dollar. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm still losing at the end of the day if I'm still struggling to pay my bills, to be able to grow, basically, not even just pay my bills. Again, back to the profit first accounting, to grow my business. If I don't have the money to do the things to grow my business, what sense does that make that I have this car or I'm going on these vacations and I'm doing these type of things? You're using the mindset of somebody who's living check to check. How's that not the same mindset? As soon as I get money, I spend it. That's the same mindset, right?
Hey, some of that check is gone long before we even hit that direct deposit, Eric. It's gone. It's already spent. That's good. That's really good.
But again, but if you're in the mindset of I got to live within my budget, wouldn't some of that money be going into a savings account? Wouldn't some of that money be going into your 401k? Wouldn't you be pushing money into those things as well as no, besides just saying, okay, my money has to pay this car note, my money has to pay this house note. Why don't you have the same mindset of saying money has to go into this retirement plan? Money has to go into the savings account. Why do we not have that same mindset?
You know, Eric, I'm gonna push back on this because this is what
Okay.
I have been seeing and experiencing is that some of us are not gonna be able to retire anyway. No, it's a real thing. It's not like our parents, right? It's not like, you know, like they got the pension, they did the state, they did this, the military, you know, that type of deal with the city and all that, and where they're able to get a pension, they get this, they get that. We're over here scrapping to make ends meet now, right? Like we can't even put that amount of money away to be able to have. And when I noticed, I was doing research, was that even a lot of the cities like Georgetown and certain areas around, like the people who've made it to retirement can't live there anymore because of the inflation, because of the expenses, because everything is so high. And so they're on fixed income. So for them, they're going to have to move. And I'm like, well, that's a nice neighborhood. Yeah, they worked hard to get to there. Right. And so now they're trying to sell their home and they were not going to sell it at the value of what it's worth. So they're going to take a big hit. They're going to take a big hit trying to sell it. And just to get out from the taxes and from everything, just to have something smaller, just to have something that's comfortable. And so you're looking at somebody 67, 70 that's worked all their lives to get there, only to realize what they thought their dream home was and get it in the neighborhood and all that good stuff, and now can't afford it. And so now you're looking at where the retirees are moving in back with the kids, within the in-law plan, right? So now we're like, oh, we just need more space, and for them because it gets so expensive. So it's like when you start seeing that in real time, I'm seeing that in real time. Like if this is happening, like in real time, they might have to come stay with me, even though they got enough retirement, because we're trying to survive at the end of the day, because everything is getting so high. So that's why I say that is because, you know, why not live your life now? I know people probably thinking that, like, let me go get what I'm gonna get right now, and I'll figure out the rest later. Because right now I do want to have some retirement, but do I want to put so much into that and then realize that I might not even really, I'll be struggling anyway, or I have to go back. And you seen that lady, you know I'm talking about, at the thing, have to go back to work and detail your car.
But, and I'll push back on you.
Go ahead.
But if I said to that woman, so when you were 30 years old and you were sitting at work and you said, would I rather buy this type of car or buy a cheaper car and put more money into retirement? Or would I rather buy a cheaper home and put more money into your retirement? Or would I rather not go on all these vacations and put money into retirement? It's almost like losing weight. You can tell me all day if you're not going to make the sacrifices necessary to grow. And again, I understand what you're saying, Isaac, but too many people are flossing on Facebook of going
That's
on
Facebook.
cruises.
That's fake
But
broke.
Isaac, exactly, it's fake broke. You just said it. That's the point. It's fake broke. You should not be driving that car if you do not have a savings account. That is asinine and crazy. It just is. If you are
They
living,
plan
if you
on
are
saying
living
that
off
they
of credit
paying for something.
cards, if you are living off of credit cards and everything like that to live your lifestyle, that is absolutely crazy. Again, I'm not telling you to not go do these things or live these lifestyles, whatever. But again, like you said, I'm making the choice to basically live like a retired person today. That's what you're saying. I'm living my retirement now. And then when I get 65, 70, somebody got to take care of me because I've been doing my thing all this time. That's basically what you're saying. And again, I'm not so
That's what some folks are in this position where they're taking care of their parents right now.
I'm not
So
so crazy and obtuse to sit back and say, Eric, situations don't happen and things like that. No, they do. But again, it's kind of like we were saying about the credit thing. There are plenty of people who live outside of their means, Isaac. They just do. They just
I
do.
think all of us do
There are
technically.
plenty of people who are living
In a
outside
sense,
of their
if
means.
we're eating out, if we eat out, if we bought coffee from any place that's not from that old school coffee pot, not the Keurig, the old school coffee pot, right? Like it was $15. You can get it at Walmart. You put the little filter in there, put the Folgers in there, and make a big pot of coffee. That 29.49 coffee. We spending $6 on coffee a day, right?
You're right.
So
That's why I bought a Keurig, right? So when I'm sitting here drinking this coffee, the cup is
Keurig was $200.
no, it really wasn't. But the little cups are 50 cents, right? You know, the
Cups
cups
are 50 cents. Yeah.
right.
But
So
anyway,
making that sacrifice, right, as opposed to drinking Starbucks all the time, right? Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not, even though I'm a financial advisor, whatever, I'm not telling you what to do. You can make the decision on what you want to do and whatnot. But at the end of the day, these are your decisions. These are decisions that you are making. Again, a person can go to a great example. A person can go to a dealership and in their head they say, I need to stay at this amount. This is what my budget I can afford in my budget to make this car note, have money left over in case something happens to the car, me still put money in the savings account, put money to grow an emergency fund, grow my retirement and things like that. Or they go in and they sit in the car, they get excited, they want to impress this person and that person because they see everybody else driving this car. So now I got to drive a better car than you, or they see you going on vacation. So now they got to go on vacation just like you. And so now you're doing things that are that are taking you out of your budget. Correct?
Yeah. Roger said about the scenario, folks have financial strategy or a tactical response.
Correct.
Regardless of their income level, one can still have a financial strategy that includes, at a minimum, a budget.
Correct. And again, just to piggyback on what he's saying, at the end of the day, if what I'm saying is wrong, then why do people making $400,000 or $500,000 a year? Why are they struggling like somebody who makes 50?
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That's an absolute real thing.
That's a real thing.
So it's hard to sit back and say the problem is I don't have enough money, because again, it's what you do within your budget and what you do with your money. And again, that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, someone can get upset about that, but then, like I said, if I go to your house and we have a conversation on what you do with your money on a monthly basis, everything is not fixed expenses. Let me put it like that. Everything is not fixed expenses. And if it is, then that's even a bigger problem, because you went out and bought a bunch of stuff that was not within your budget and you couldn't afford it. So again, even as much as you want to joke around and say that I do and stuff like that, I tell you all the time, I max out my 401k, right? My wife maxes out her 401k, right? So we're putting money away to be good in retirement. And I'm not saying that to be arrogant. But if you say to me, Eric, people live this lifestyle, and then when they get to retirement, no, I'm going to be fine because we're maxing out our 401ks, along with having brokerage accounts, along with me putting money into my business as the employer, right? You know, to put into my solo 401k, along with all those things, and then still doing the other stuff outside of that. But again, you have to have that mindset of saying, I have to put this money away every month. If I've got to cut doing something else in order to do that, then I've got to cut that, or I've got to make more money. It's just that simple. And again, that's when you see people trying to grow businesses and try to do that, which is great. But then you get ass backwards by then getting a business and then buying things in the business that the business can't afford to be able to write them off, right? What's the logic in that? Look at this face. What's the logic in that?
Ron had a comment over here. So lots of people think that way, took care of them, and now they take care of me. Of course, I'm not the one of those people. You know, it's interesting because I know I'm gonna say this because this may sound, I don't know if it's gonna sound bad, but some of us don't plan on living to retirement, and some of us don't make it.
Yeah, my grandkids are going to be good.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying that to be like that. I'm just saying, like, we're talking about, Ron just said it's like the mindset. The mindset is like, I don't really, you know, some people be like, hey, you know, if I make it, you know, they're glad to be alive from some of our backgrounds, right? So, you know, to be alive, to make it to 60 is good. So anything over that
but
is,
then what
is
happens if
phenomenal.
you don't?
So if I get the opportunity to retire, if I can retire, and I would say this because a lot of our parents put a lot of our kids, or those kids, us kids, through college, and bailing them out of jail. No, just being real, bailing them out of jail, putting up, co-signing for a car that when they had a good job, and all of a sudden they lost the job, getting their kids getting divorced, so they end up having to move in with you. Like, oh, then the actual couple getting divorced, and then that whole split. Now they can't even live because they put the money together to live together. Like, these are all the things I'm thinking about. It's like, you know, my wife might just up and leave me. You know what I'm saying? I'm staying with my girls. That's what it is, right? Again, that's my plan B.
Again, there are all type of different scenarios that we can go through, from a doom and gloom or worst case scenario. But again, no matter what, I still need to have the foundation of, what if I do live? What if something was to happen? Again, like I said, when I was in my car accident, again, I don't get FMLA. I don't get unemployment. I don't get any of those things. So I wasn't out for a long time, but the time I was out, I really wasn't working, right? I wasn't seeing clients. I wasn't doing anything. So what if I didn't have, and my wife wasn't working. She was at home taking care of me. So we had no checks coming in. So what if I was living check to check? What if I didn't have reserves? What if I didn't have those type of things? And again, I'm not saying these things to be arrogant.
But you
please understand that. But I'm giving you a scenario. You're giving me scenarios. I'm giving you a scenario. So if you're somebody, again, it's like, I'm not trying to be funny. The COVID thing was horrible. Look how quickly it turned for people who go into jobs, not just business owners, people who were going to jobs and lost their jobs during COVID, and they struggled because they didn't have the 3 to 6 months in emergency funds. They didn't have a savings account. You know, it's like, you don't want to say you're just flying by the seat of your pants. But again, you really have to, again, I'm not even saying in a doom and gloom mindset, but it's like, I need to be prepared in case something happens. Anything can happen to you.
So would you say that if basically I'm hearing it from this is like making sure you have reserves, making sure you have at least 3 to 6 months for anything that may come up. You got your emergency fund, which should be a lot more than $1,000. A water heater is 9,000, right?
I believe,
So
yeah.
like that's an emergency, right? AC, HVAC, that's a big deal. That to have the money there set aside in case something happens, and if you do have that money, do you it I guess would it be okay if these things are put in place, having that positive upward on look mindset? If my retirement, I'm putting away money for retirement, I have savings and reserves and stuff like that, yet I still live check to check, but I'm putting money away in that sense,
Correct.
right? I'm still putting. So would that be okay if I was saving up for that car, or saving up for a good
Right.
down payment, or saving up for the vacation to take my wedding, anniversary trip, or something for the kids that's very special on Sweet 16, or quinceanera or something like that, right? So if
Correct.
I'm doing that, I should be good as long as I have reserves and things are put in place. Is that what
Yeah.
would you say?
Yes, let's go and plug that real quick. So everybody on, if you go to info at thefinancialturtle.com, you will see the very budget we are talking about, right? Because in one of the budgets that we talk about, we don't, I know a budget that I do have. If it's not in there, I'll put that in there. It's not just 50, 30, 20. It's actually where you are actually breaking down in the 30, where you're saying, okay, I'm putting 5% every month to growth, meaning I'm doing personal growth, be it taking courses, things like that, to try to grow me personally in order to make more money. And then there's another part in there, it's like 5 to 10% to save up for going on that vacation, or having to pay for my child's birthday, or things like that, or if I want to save for a house or anything like that. You need to put those type of things in your budget. And again, we talk all the time about your money being a pie, meaning, so your pie is 100%. And so you only can spend your 100%, right? We're not talking about using credit cards or anything like that. You've got to live within your 100%. So if I'm moving 5 to 10% because I want to get a down payment on my home, or I want to put a down payment on a car, or I want to go on this huge family vacation or something like that, right? So I'm putting money into that account in order to save money to do that. What has to happen? The money's got to come from somewhere, right? And usually, where would that money come from? The variable part, right?
Yeah.
Because fixed is fixed. So it's really going to be a problem for me if 60, 70% of my income is going to fixed expenses. The car
Mhm.
I can't afford. The house I'm living in that's making me house poor. The credit cards that I've built up because I've bought all these things on this credit card that I couldn't pay cash for. So you're right. When you say your check is pretty much gone, as soon as you get it, you're paying all these bills, right? You're paying for that car note, you're paying that car insurance, you're paying that house, you're paying these credit cards, you're paying all these things. And again, your fixed expenses are so huge that you can't save the 10 to 15%. You can't do the wiggle room to be able to save for the down payment on the home or save for the vacation. So what do? I put the I'm already paying the minimum on the credit card anyway, right? So I just throw that vacation on the credit card. My minimum payment might go up a little bit, but I went on that vacation, right? So I'm good. Again, I'm not telling everybody to live like a pauper or anything like that. I'm not Dave Ramsey. I'm not telling you, you can't go on vacation till you're a millionaire and all that drama. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you live within your budget and you are putting money away and you're living within your means, I don't want to use the word fine, but like I asked you before, what do you think is the most stressful part of people's lives? It's finances. It really and true. It's finances and health, right? Health and finances. It's finances. And a lot of people have financial stress because of the way that they think and operate and deal with money. And again, like you said, I know it's hard, like you said, when somebody says, Eric, I've never had anything, and now I had this opportunity to get this. So now I feel I should be able to have this. Like I feel like I'm entitled to have it, right? That's how people think in their mind. They're like, if they're going to let me drive off the lot in it, apparently I deserve it, right? Is that how people think?
Yeah.
Or if I go and they say I can go get it, if they say I'm approved for, I want to say 350, but crazy as that sounds, 350 don't get a whole lot of house nowadays. But but let's say I get approved for this amount for my house, to go buy a house. But my budget, if I look at my budget on, can I still put money into an emergency fund? Can I still do all of these things when I go buy this house? I might have to buy a smaller house though, right? But I've been approved for this house, Eric. So how are you going to tell me I can't afford this house? They said I was approved for this house. That's our mindset, right? And again, I'm not mad at you if that's the mindset you want to have, if that's the way you want to think. It's like you say, we've sat in Zoom meetings, we've sat, where you've had me ask me to go speak, and you've seen me speak, and people pull up and they say, I have this $1,000-something car note. And I say, well, that's probably killing you, right? You need to get rid of that car. What do they always say? What do they always say, Isaac? Look at you.
Tell me, sir.
I can't get rid of it.
Like a few more minutes. Go ahead, wrap it up.
I can't get rid of it. So as you see, we kind of just went off the cuff today. And so again, at the end of the day, again, I'm not trying to be anybody's parent. I'm not trying to be, again, I listen to him a lot, but I'll admit there are some things that Dave Ramsey and his team say that I don't totally agree with. But a lot of things that they say, I will say, if you follow pretty much what they say to do, you will keep yourself out of certain types of trouble. Like it's almost like a person who says, I've got this credit card to get all these points. You don't know what you're talking about. We've had this conversation before where you get these credit cards and then they're steadily amping your limit up, right? Because you're paying it off until it gets to a point where you can't pay the credit card off on a monthly basis, right? And some people have credit cards and they buy things, and this is true. Anybody knows this. I have a credit card and I go purchase things that there's no way I would purchase it if I had to actually pay cash for it today. It's funny, again, I'm not absolutely positive how things like Affirm and things like that work, but to my understanding, people go on cruises and things like that, doing things like Klarna, Affirm, and stuff like that. Why? They give you the ability to pay it off over time, right? So that makes more sense to you than just paying cash for it. Do you know, whenever I buy anything on Amazon, don't you always see that? It's like you can make this payment or you can make this payment over 6 months, over 12 months and stuff like that. Why do you think they do that? Somehow it makes more sense to me in my head to pay $84 or $100 a month as opposed to just paying the $600 and getting it over with, right? That seems easier for me, but now I'm stuck with this payment. Because again, if somebody said you have to pay cash for it in order to get it, I'm not willing to wait to get the cash to have it. I'd rather pay it over time, and now I've created another expense for myself, right? And that's how that just snowballs and snowballs and snowballs. And then, like you said, before you know it, as soon as I get paid, all of my money is already going to expenses. Because I'm living above my means. And I know it's a hard conversation to have. It's why a lot of people do not want to sit down with somebody like myself and talk about their finances and talk about their future and talk about budgeting and things like that, because you want to say they feel ashamed or they feel that they're being talked down to, like they're a child or things like that. And again, to me, it's we're just having a conversation. Just having a conversation, right? I don't think I'm saying anything that is hurtful or trying to demean you or anything like that. I'm just trying to make you think about your money in a different mindset than you think of it. Something as simple like I just said, instead of saying, okay, I need to save money to be able to go on this cruise or whatever, I click on it and it pops right up and says you can set up to pay this amount every month up to the cruise. Why do you think they do that? More people click on that and then do that, and then I have this bill every month. Instead of saying, no, I'm going to save the money to be able to pay to go on it. I'm not going to go on it until I can afford to do it. No, they're telling me I can afford to do it. And then we get to see all these videos like we were watching last night, laughing about all these people saying how they're clearing up everybody's Affirm credit, um, all their Affirm stuff on, in collections when they're cleaning up their credit. If that's the case, then aren't you doing something that you really and truly can't afford? That's all I got.
That's good, man. This has been really good, man. Thanks, Eric, for all your wisdom. This has been really good, man. This has been really good. Thanks, everyone, for joining us on Ask Eric Master Your Money. We have a lot of things in store. Please go to thefinancialturtle.com. Please go in there. There's budget in there. There's a budget sheet we'll be able to send you as well. And then you will have a lot of information as you get connected to as well that we will be able to send out weekly. And so also, if you do have any questions or anything, please go send us an email at info@thefinancialturtle.com. You can definitely see the link that's right there on your screen. And then also you can call Eric at 512-626-7545. If you have any questions, or text them or call, you take text and call, right, Eric?
Yes, sir.
Just reach out to him if you have those questions. You're really thinking about what should I do? How should I move? And he should be able to get you taken care of. All right, Eric, you good?
Yeah, it was great as always. I appreciate everybody who's coming and watching the videos and sharing with your friends. And if again, like Isaac said, if there's any type of questions anybody has, anything that you would like to talk about, you can just shoot us an email, shoot to the info at the Financial Turtle, or just go ahead and click it into the comments on something that you have a question about or you want us to talk about, and we can put it in one of the shows.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night.